if you've ever watched a comedian before they get up and actually in front of the audience, you notice they do something that's called warming up the audience. You see, when you're doing humor, it's kind of difficult because if the audience doesn't laugh, it's not humor. So you got to kind of warm up the audience and get them ready. And quite often what will happen is they'll have an act before the comedian goes on to kind of warm up the audience and get everybody kind of thinking, hey, yeah, let's laugh, let's be funny, let's be interested in stuff. And that way when the comedian gets on stage, they know exactly what's going to work, what things are going to connect together. And most important, the audience is kind of already ready. The audience is already ready to hear that comedian. They're thinking, okay, yeah, I'm ready to laugh. I'm ready to have a good time. Sometimes before the headline comedian, they'll have a minor comedian warm them up to get everybody laughing, so they're already laughing when the major headline comedian comes on. It's another way to warm up the audience in the comedian world. Which made me thinking, Tim, I'm not a comedian, I'm a presenter. I'm just going to go out there and talk in front of the audience. How am I going to warm up the audience? Well, what if you could? What if there is something you could do before your speech? It would get the audience kind of warmed up, kind of ready, kind of in the same sort of eager, anticipated, interested sort of way that professional comedians get by having a warm-up act before them. That be useful? That be helpful? Maybe you never thought about it. And then, Tim, I never really thought about that. I just get up there and do it, and hopefully the audience is into it. And if they are, great. If they're not, well, better luck next time, the next place I give the same speech. And of course you could do that. Just go up there and hope for the best. But if there really is a different way, a better way, to get people ready before you get up there, to kind of warm up your audience and understand them, wouldn't you want to be doing that? Well, as you're probably not surprised here, there is a way to do just that. It's about warming up your audience before you actually give your presentation. Now, in doing that, you're going to become pretty intimate with that audience. It's going to take some really stepping out. Sometimes people, when they get up on stage, they just want to get up on stage and just be up on stage. And that's okay, but if you really want to do a good job, you're going to have to go out there, connect with your audience, and get kind of intimate with them. We'll talk a little bit more about exactly what that is and how to make that happen. Because otherwise, you just get up there and you're like, yeah, you know, hey, they do their thing, I do mine. We'll see how it goes. And maybe you've done that. Maybe you know how that happens. You know how it all works out. Sometimes you get a good result. Often you don't. And afterwards you think, geez, this wasn't a good audience. Wasn't a good audience. And in fact, comedians who are stand-up comedians who don't have a chance for people to warm up the audience quite often are asked, how's the audience? And a comedian will say something like, oh, well, you know, the audience is cold. They're cold out there. They're not into it. They're not into humor. They're just cold. Or sometimes the comedian will come back and say, oh, they're hot. They're ready for it. They're excited about it. But what the comedian, of course, leaves out entirely is, why are they cold? And why are they hot? What happened to make them cold, and what happened to get them hot? So if you could heat up your audience, really heat them up, get them interested, get them involved, pull them in, that would probably be pretty valuable, right? That'd be a useful thing to do. So today, you're going to learn about that. Some different ideas about how to heat up your audience. Ways that start kind of distant from your audience, but then gradually get closer and closer until you're finally really getting there, really connecting in with the audience and finding out what your audience really wants to make sure you give them a presentation they really need. the first step in heating up your audience is something maybe you haven't really thought about. Because it's so easy just to get out there, get up on stage, and just let it rip. And maybe that's what you do. You hang around backstage till the time comes. Okay, you're on. Boom, you get out there. Good evening, ladies and germs. I got something to tell you. Or however you begin. Hopefully not that. Trust me, that doesn't work. Whatever it is, you just let it rip and then see what happens. And a lot of speakers do that. However, in doing that, you really don't quite make things happen. Maybe you had this happen. You go through there and you get up there and you're going out and kind of looking around and you're saying, huh, okay, there's that person there. And can they hear me? Could they know what's going on? I think there's someone there. There's like this pole. There's this large column, and I don't see the person behind there. And over here, there's like this gap, and I'm not quite sure what's going on over here. And so maybe you wander the stage back and forth, trying to see, can I see the person over there? And are they back there? You know, and you do one of these things on your microphone. Is this thing on? Is this thing on? Trust me, one of the worst things any speaker can do up on stage is to slap the microphone and say, is this thing on? It does not work in the humorous world. Comedians try to blame their jokes bombing on bad microphone. It's not working in the presentation world. When speakers try to blame their speech not connecting on the microphone not being on. No, it's not a matter of the microphone not being on. It's a matter of you, the speaker, not doing your work. Because there's important work to be done. Important work. Sure, you want to go out and connect with the audience, but then the only way you really connect with the audience on stage is from the stage. But many speakers go up on stage and just kind of hope for the best, peer around and see, not quite what I wanted, not quite there. Or they can't see the audience over the lights. The lights are so glaring. They're like, they can't see. Are there people out there? Maybe somebody out there or over there. In the meantime, I just hide backstage and wait. Okay, now I'm going to go on. Now we'll see how it all goes. And often it just kind of goes, and then afterwards the speaker may say something like, oh, the audience wasn't hot. They just weren't hot. You're like that stand-up comedian who bombed on stage because the audience wasn't hot. But it's not about the hotness. It's about making sure to get it there on stage early so you understand how the sight lines are going to work. You see, you connect with the audience on stage. You may think, Tim, I know that. That's obvious. But that means that that stage is really important to be able to see the audience. Who are the different people in the audience? Can they hear you? So one thing you do is stand on stage and take a look around. Just see. Who can you see? Are there any columns that block you off from certain people? How far do you have to move on stage until you can actually see the people behind the columns? Can you see the people behind the columns? Columns are a disaster for presenters. They have huge columns like this. They block off the whole room, and you're stuck. So if there are columns, be aware of that. Make sure you can work around them. If you're going up on the stage, you're just thinking about, okay, how do the people out there look? Now, you're saying, Tim, how do I know there's a bunch of empty chairs? I'm not talking about doing this when there's empty chairs. I'm talking about going there up on stage, taking a look around while there are people actually out there seated in the chairs. This doesn't make any sense. They're empty chairs. Can't tell too much from empty chairs. You can guess where people are going to be and how it's going to work, but you don't know. But when you go up there and there's actually people out there and you're looking at everybody, you're like, oh, that's the person there. Okay, I can see that person. I can see that person. You're walking back and forth, seeing how the stage creaks and where it creaks and how obnoxiously it creaks, which boards you may have to avoid. All of these things will help you to connect with that audience. So walk the stage. Walk the stage. Make sure you've got those sight lines out there and you can see what's out there. You can see what's going to see who's out there. And that's going to help you make that connection. See, oh, yeah, that person, okay, good. Good sight lines. Okay, stage is all right. Ready to go. Ready to go to the next step. All right, now you walk the stage. You walk the stage back and forth, and that's great, because you're starting to get a sense of the audience. You start to see what's happening. It's like, okay, there's that person there, oh, there's that big column, I gotta work around that. Checking the stage and saying, okay, that board squeaks, that one's kind of like this, it's kind of like that. And that's great, because then you get a sense of the audience from the stage. And after all, you're going to be seeing the audience from the stage and connecting from the stage. So it's important as you stand on the stage to know exactly where everybody is. But of course, that isn't it. That isn't all of it. It's really important to understand that everything doesn't happen entirely on the stage. Even if you get the stage down and you get the stage moving fine, there's still something missing. You see, people in real life, they tend not to be separated by a stage. When Shakespeare said, all the world's a stage, he didn't mean that there are some people actually standing on the stage and everybody else was kind of watching them as they went by. That's not it. And in the same way in real life, you know somebody just standing up in front of you, way away and say, hey, how are you doing? I'm doing fine. You kind of wave to them on the stage there. Stages are kind of artificial. They disconnect you from the audience. Of course, as a presenter, that's where you live, that's where you are. So you'll be wondering, okay, Tim, if that's where I live, that's where I am, what do? I've gone back and forth, I walked the stage, how am I going to make that other connection with my audience? Well, that's why the stage is only part of it. You can't just remain on the stage. While it may be obvious, it's a temptation for speakers to kind of remain on the stage and that's it. In fact, if you really want to be a good speaker, the stage is fine, but the stage isn't the last place you are. If you're a really good speaker, you have to get off the stage. Off the stage and kind of wander around and talk to people. Start understanding about them. And as you're understanding about them, you're learning more and you're getting ready to really make that presentation. Just have your presentation in mind when you're walking around. Because your audience has something special that you need to know. You don't know as a presenter, but you really need to know it when you present. That audience can tell you what that is. And that's the audience's preferences. What is the audience like? Which means you got to be kind of flexible up there. If you've got some big sort of PowerPoint slide deck going, and the audience says, you start talking to people, says, yeah, we had a bunch of people did slides before, and we're really so keen on it. It just didn't really work for us. I don't know why, but had some slides, but I don't know. It didn't quite go. You may make a quick decision to have a few slides, but minimize the slides. If you've got a 45 slide deck ready to go, and you're talking to people in the audience, you're saying things like, oh yeah, we had a guy, he had this like 100 deck slide. It was really boring. It wasn't interesting at all. You may want to cut out some of those slides and think, oh, well, that's really not going to work at all. I'd better cut out this and cut out that, and maybe I can talk about some more things here and get some more interviews. In other words, get your audience preferences. Understand what sort of things that they're really into, what's the sort of things they're really connected with. On the other hand, if they say, boy, we got a guy here who just loved the slides, they're fantastic, you got a bunch of slides, great. Play up the slides, make a bigger deal of them. Maybe spend longer time in each slide than you plan to. And if you plan to show a few slides of mostly talking, well, go back and just do it with slides. If you're good with PowerPoint or some other slide software, maybe create some slides on the fly that will work for this particular audience. Get those audience preferences in mind. So walk the stage, getting the audience's preferences. One more thing you might want to think about doing to make sure you really are warming up your audience. All right. You've walked the stage, walked it back and forth, made that connection, looked out there, looked along the sideline and said, I see that person there, I see that person there, I see where that column is. You really understand, like the squeaks on the stage, really understand where you can look at people. You're getting kind of comfortable just being up there in front of people. That's good. And then stepped off the stage, started talking to people about their preferences, saying, well, what sort of people have you had here before? What sort of things work for you? Well, Tim, this worked for us, and didn't really like that. And last time, boy, the audience really got this guy. It was just really great because he did this sort of thing. So, oh, okay, yeah. And you're taking notes and thinking, all right, these are things going on here. All right, fine. And that's good. That's really good. Because you're starting to get that awareness of your audience, and just as you're getting comfortable with your audience being in front of that audience, your audience is now getting comfortable with you. So your audience is starting to warm up to you. You know how when you meet somebody and you have that kind of, that connection between them, you're just standing in front of someone versus someone you see on stage, when you're actually standing there right there with the person in front of you, there's just a whole different feeling about that, talking to a person. There is listening to a person talk to you from on stage. So that begins to build up that whole relationship there. As you're walking around the audience, checking people out, asking people different things about their preferences, you're really starting to get that audience feel a little bit, yeah, okay, yeah, this guy takes a chance. He's interested in sort of things going on. He seems to have a good plan, a good thought here. So that's all great. As you walk along and you get more confident, more certain of yourself, you're thinking, okay, yeah, I can do this. I see what sort of things they want, and I can change this slide here, and I can adjust that, and I can flip that around. That's great. Now, some speakers just stop there and say, okay, well, I got the audience preferences. I know what sort of slides they want, and how slow or how fast they want me to talk. I know what sort of things really work with the last person, and how I can use that here, and I got some ideas about using this sort of thing here and sort of thing there, and they stop and think, oh, that's enough. But you need to do a little bit more. A little bit more. Even with the audience preferences. Getting the audience's preferences, that's very important. But do a little bit more. When you do this more, then things really will click. It's kind of the final step to make everything kind of come together. And that is, you want to get audience details. Audience details. And that means you've got to find out who the different people are in the audience. Because everybody in your audience isn't equal. If you're a corporate presenter, or you're presenting even at a Lions Club or something like that, who are the officers of the Lions Club? Who is the CEO or the highest ranking person in the room? Because that's the person people are going to know. And if you don't know that person, well then automatically people are thinking, he just really doesn't know us. He doesn't understand us. But if you can go up there and drop the name of the CEO and mention you talked to him beforehand, had a little chat with him, whoa, people think, yeah, wow, geez, guys took an effort. Knows the CEO, the gal's really working at it. Good. So get those audience details. Your whole work is out there in the audience. Who are these people? Who are the high rankers? Who are the people who are the officers? Who are the people who are the managers, the supervisors? What's the kind of the hierarchy, the structure, the power structure going on? Get an idea about that. Maybe you've researched that before, great. But if you're actually there in the room, find out, okay, who's the highest placed person in this room? Who reports to them? What are their names? What are their functions? And of course, get their preferences, sort of things they're interested in. But also, if you can, get a little story or a little anecdote or something about them, little audience details that really make people think, oh, okay, yeah, they know that guy. They really know, I know that guy, but they took the time to know that guy too. That's good. It's great. And in knowing him and getting those audience details, you'll find your audience gets really warmed up and really raring to go. Professional comedians know how to warm up their audience. You might want to do the same sort of thing. Now, a professional comedian will have a warm-up act beforehand. You really can't do that, but there's some things you can do as a presenter to get your audience warmed up. One of the simplest things is be aware of your audience and make your audience aware of you. So just walk the stage. Walk the stage back and forth. Check out those sight lines. Check out you can see everybody out there. Check out where people are. If there's columns, if there's obstructions, if there are things in the way, note that. Okay, got to tuck around that, got to move around that. Just walk the stage. Walk the stage. Make sure you got avoiding those places which squeak or the places where there's bad lighting. Get people from outside to check the lighting. It annoys the audience more when the speaker suddenly vanishes because they step into a place where there's no lighting. So walk the stage, get to know that stage. And then get to know audience preferences. What does your audience really want? Some audiences love slides, love them. Other audiences hate slides, hate them. Just find out sort of things that they're really into. More of the audience is saying, like an engineering sort of audience, are saying, yeah, we really want to get the details, the nitty-gritty of things going on. Or is it a storytelling audience? We just want to have a big, fun story, things are going on, it doesn't have to have any point, goes all over the place. Whatever it is. Get to know your audience preferences. And those audience preferences will really determine the shape of your presentation. How your presentation just kind of all holds together. Because once you understand, okay, this is what the audience is really looking for, then you can deliver it. So you talk to the audience, but also you're warming up your audience because not only in talking to them get their preferences, just being around them, physically being in front of them, that really starts that audience connection, that audience relationship. And finally, audience details. Get the details. Most importantly, start learning the names of people in the room. Especially the names of the most important people. There's somebody out there who's a high-ranked person, and you want to know their name. If there's a CEO out there, you definitely want to know their name. But even a manager, a supervisor, who's the highest-ranked person in that room, get to know them, talk to them, and see if you can get a story out of them. Or find out what interests them, what brought them over to come to this presentation to see you. See if they've seen you before. See what they like to talk about, what they're interested in, what their hobbies are, what their ideas are. Get their audience details. Figure out what those details are. And when you do that, you start putting things together. You're walking the stage, you're connecting with the audience that way. You're going out, you're finding what your audience likes, you're getting your audience preferences out there, and you're getting audience details. Figuring out, okay, audience likes this. Good. Audience's name is that. Fantastic. I can use that in my speech. In your speech, you can say, oh, so-and-so, CEO, Bob the CEO. You know, Bob, I was talking to Bob, and he was saying, you know, Tim, what I really like most about presentations is this. And boy, in your last presentation, I like where you, man, if you can quote the CEO or somebody like that, saying that right before you get on stage, that's powerful. Your audience just starts to feel, hey, you get us, you understand us, you know us. It pulls everybody together. It warms your audience up. And when the audience gets warmed up, they're more enthusiastic, they're more interested. They start leaning forward, they start paying more attention. It's incredible what happens between when you get up there and you've got a warm audience that says, yeah, love it, as opposed to a cold audience that says, whatever. You've ever spoken to a cold audience, you know, they don't care, it doesn't really matter, like, it really doesn't matter to us. You can say whatever you want, I don't care. As opposed to a warm audience that says, yeah, hey, great stuff, yeah, and they start cheering, clapping, stomping. That's great energy. And the great thing is when you warm your audience up and they got that great energy, everything you do hits. Everything you do works. Because the audience wants it to work. They're along there, they're cheering with you. As long as you don't do anything really bad up there, probably the audience just go along with you and say, yeah, great, just love your stuff. So warm up your audience. Make sure you walk the stage. Get the audience preferences. Get the audience details. And then when you go out in front of your audience and you stand up there solid and you feel them really focused and warm, just ready to have a great time, you'll know it's all been worth it.